Well, hello, family, friends, and neighbors, and welcome back to the channel. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about this time about something that's near and dear to the heart of my wife and I. Something we've been involved in for about 6+ years, directly involved for about 6+ years now, and that is fostering and adoption, being a foster parent or an adoptive parent. And like I said, we got directly involved in this back in 2016, and it has been life-changing for us in a lot of different ways. And a question that comes up to us is fostering really worth it? And that sounds like a horrible question at first, and sometimes it is, but very often the question that's really being asked behind that is this: can I handle it? Right? Is being a foster parent something I can handle? Because we all can probably remember somebody telling us some nightmare story, or we know somebody who was in the foster system and their experience was a nightmare. Whether they were a foster parent dealing with a child who was acting out because of their trauma and because of their experience, because of their hurt, or whether they were a child in the foster system and it was a nightmare for them from that side. But I'm just going to share a little bit about our experience and answer as honestly as I can that question: is it worth it? First of all, yes, it is worth it. It's a huge need. Here in the county where we live, just this past weekend, there were 5 babies born that had to be basically put up in the hospital because the county didn't have foster homes for those babies to go to. And so through the different channels we're connected with, we're hearing this need of, we've got these 5 newborn babies that for various reasons can't be with their birth parents, and they need an emergency foster home and perhaps a concurrent foster home while the parents are working out their stuff. And I mean, you got 5 babies that have no place to go. That is pretty disturbing, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are children and teens where there is a facility about 30-45 minutes from our house that houses foster kids in like a facility, because there just aren't homes for them to go to. So it is a huge need. These are kids who are broken, they're hurting, they're scared, they don't know what's going on. A lot of them don't understand really their situation, but here they are, and they don't know about their future, and they don't know about their parents' future, and they're hurting, and they need a safe place to land where they will be cared for, where they will be loved, where they will be safe, where they can learn what real love is, what a family is supposed to be like, and how they can have a place in that and a part in making it. So it is a huge need, and it's hard. I mean, just things that matter are hard. But just because a thing is difficult, it doesn't mean it's not worth doing. In fact, some of the most difficult things that we have to go through can be some of the most rewarding things. Now, as I go through this, I may wind up saying some things that apply to everyone. That does not mean, I think, that everyone needs to be a foster parent. There are so many different ways to help these kids and these at-risk families, that not just being a foster parent. You can do respite care for people who are foster parents. You can provide resources. You can plug into some of these agencies and organizations, and there's all kinds of ways to help if you don't feel like you can be a foster parent, but there's always something to do. But as I talk about some of these things and say some things that are going to apply to everyone, especially if you claim to follow Jesus, then just understand there are ways that you can walk in obedience to what Jesus says, and there's lots of different ways that we can do that. It doesn't mean that I think everybody has to take the exact same path that we have. But fostering is, it's a huge need, and it's very, very hard. You take these kids into your home, and they have all kinds of baggage that you didn't pack. and you're going to have to deal with it, and you're going to have to go through it with them, and you're going to have to walk with them through this. But as in regard to my faith, I cannot get away from all the times that Jesus talked about the importance and the value of caring for children. In fact, James, who was one of Jesus' half-brothers and eventually a leader in the Jerusalem church, and in an apostolic office, and he wrote a letter to the church, and he says that religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. So it doesn't matter how often we go to church, it doesn't matter how passionately we sing songs, it doesn't matter how many Bible verses we have memorized. If we're not caring for people in need, we are not following Jesus. And that's just how it is. So anytime you step into someone's mess, anytime you connect with someone who is hurting, who is broken, who is going through a season, it's going to be messy and it's going to be hard. But some of the biggest blessings come out through some of our greatest trials. Again, you're dealing with these kids, you're dealing with a lot of baggage. And like, we have a 3-year-old right now. He's we got him when he was 17 months. We were his 4th stop. Right? So he was removed from his birth parents, and then he had an emergency placement, a concurrent placement, another concurrent placement, and then he wound up with us. And he's got abandonment issues that he has no idea what that is. This trauma happened to him when he was so young that logic and reason didn't put it there. Only emotion did, at this very base level. So he doesn't even understand and can't even articulate some of his fears. And tonight I just wear myself out trying to get him to bed. It's really, really hard. But that is a life that desperately needs some stability, that desperately needs that consistent flow of love and care, that needs those good, healthy boundaries to be enforced. And he depends on me to stay in control. So pray for me, because I need to keep my self-control. But I mean, he needs that. It's huge. It's important. It is hard for me. It is hard for him. And it is every ounce worth it. Now, when you look at foster adopt, because we're in the process of adopting our little guy, it gets really hard because there's all of these emotional ups and downs. They get placed in your home, you care for them, you love them like your own, you begin to attach to them, and then mom and dad start doing better, and they start talking about reunification, and then okay, well that's good, I want that, but then mom and dad start doing bad again, and it becomes this thing. You start, they're so much better off here, why can't they just stay here? And we always have to understand that that it is best for them to be with their parents, and their parents are never going to be perfect. I'm not perfect, and them coming out of their own struggles and their own hurts and their own grief and working through their own baggage, they're not going to be perfect either. And so I have to understand that though I think them staying with me might be better, it is still good for them to go home if that's possible and if that's good for them. So there's a lot of those ups and downs, that back and forth, and it's tempting to lay down some judgments, but that's not helpful, and that's not healthy either. When we're talking about taking in these foster kids, yes, there is a stipend. They give you a little bit of money to care for these kids, and depending on their level of need, their special needs and different things, that stipend can be more or less. That's to help you lift the burden of caring for this extra child in your home. But we need to remember, there is no amount of money that is going to diminish the sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice on your part. It's a sacrifice of your time, of your emotion. It's stressful, it's difficult. Things that matter are hard, and this is difficult. And there is no amount of money that the county can give you that's going to make anything any easier on that level. So there are people that get into this for the money, and that is unfortunate. But the money can be helpful on a logistical level, but that's it. So if it's something you're considering doing, you need to be doing it for the right reasons. But it is a huge need. It is a very good thing to do. It honors God and it pleases Him. He will bless it and honor it, and it will be hard. But it'll be every ounce worth it. And sometimes you're going to feel like you're all alone, and someone with, they've got their kids born into their family, and you're talking about the stresses of caring for your foster child, and they're like, oh yeah, our kids do that too. And it's like, no. I understand they do something very similar, but it's not the same. And people that don't have that aren't in that area of service don't really understand, and they're trying to be helpful, but sometimes it can just be all the more frustrating. And so you need to connect with other families, and there are some agencies that that can be helpful in that. So if you have more questions about fostering, if you want to know what agencies to talk to, we're in the Northern California area, Sonoma County specifically. So if you want to know about that area, I can be very helpful. Otherwise, I can kind of point you in some general directions. But place your comments, place your questions down in the comments section below. I got some other things that I'd like to unpack with you. Healthy relationships versus unhealthy relationships, and how do you make unhealthy ones healthy. That can kind of tie into what we were just talking about, what I was just talking about. There's so hit the subscribe button, because we may be bringing up a topic that you're interested in, and it'll be easier to find us. Ring the notification bell so when you know something new comes up, and we will see you next time as we kind of work through some honest answers to honest questions and get through some of this life together, and we'll be better for it. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whenever you're watching this.